You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu and drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening and welcome in. Hope you're holdover from the last hour's programming. I'm sure that Rick and Stacy did a fantastic job as usual. I hate that I don't get to listen to that show because I'm always busy working on this one. But one day we'll make it happen.
Always listen to.
Well, I was going to get to the podcast thing. I just meant the live experience because it's so much better when it's live. You get to hear everything on the podcast. Don't get me wrong, and that's great. And everybody should, if they can't listen live, you can go to the page klrnradio.com, America's Podcast Network, by the way, and you can pull the show and listen to the podcast. But the live event, anything can happen on live radio. And while you hear it recorded, everybody else has already got the joke. So you're sitting there laughing all by yourself thinking that, oh, this is so funny. This is so funny. And everybody's like, oh, you're so last week. But anyway, I digress. We have a crap ton to talk about tonight. We won't get to everything I've got listed, but that's okay. I would rather have too much in case we burn through something fast. But here lately, this thing's been going on ever since the special counsel's report on Biden's handling of classified documents. There's been this stirring at the White House. Biden's very unhappy with how he was characterized in Special Counsel Hur's report, basically calling him a doddering old fool, and stating that is the reason he shouldn't really be prosecuted. He's just old and didn't know any better, and yada yada yada. So here's my question, and it's been, I think, a lot of people's question since this whole thing came out, is if President Pudding Brain isn't capable of being responsible and prosecuted for what he did, how is he competent enough to run our country? Now, I know what you're all thinking. He's not really running the country. Okay, fine. He's in the chair, though. And he could tell every one of those damn people to get the hell out of his way, and he's doing something. He's there. Now, what makes his age or his, we'll say, lack of mental capabilities of a protectant of prosecution? This is a man that held classified documents in his possession on his personal property since the time he was a vice president under Barack Obama. But he shouldn't be prosecuted, but Trump should? Now look, I hate defending Trump, okay? Because I'm a believer if you do wrong, and you take the consequences, okay? But you can't have one set of rules for one person and one set for another. And here's the big kicker too, is everybody's thinking, oh, well, that's President Biden. You can't do that. Let me tell you something. The day that Barack Obama left office and Biden was no longer the vice president, Joe Biden had no legal right to be in possession of any classified documentation for any reason. Not like a president who could possibly be in possession of something like that. He was a vice president. That the last day in office ends his authority to see that stuff. He cannot keep it. Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, as we digress even further here, the administration has sent some unusual letters out, and one went to the White House Correspondents Association complaining about the coverage of Special Counsel Hur's report on Biden's handling of the classified documents. The president's reelection campaign objected to its perception that negative stories about Biden got more attention than remarks by Donald Trump about NATO. Now, we're not talking quite enemy of the people territory, but it's noticeable, they said. And according to this professor at George Washington, what's his name? This guy's name is Frank Sesno, Sesno. He says it's a strategy. It does several things at once. It makes the press a foil, which is a popular pattern for politicians of all stripes. It can also distract voters from bad news. And while some newsrooms quickly dismiss the criticism, he says, others may pause and think twice about what they write. Now, we all know that the mainstream media is for shit. They suck sewer water. And you'll see them if you're online at all. You'll see them. They'll be randomly talking about, oh, these people are losing jobs, and we need money, and we need this, and we need that, and this is not fair. And guess what? Life's not fair. Learn to code, suck it up, buttercup, and fuck off. The press is garbage. If they happen to cover something objectively, where there's not a slant to it and they're just bringing facts, you can mark it on a calendar because it was an accident. They don't know how to present news in a factual manner without a slant. Neither side. Because there shouldn't be sides. It should be news. It shouldn't be opinion. It's great if you want to have an opinion show. Hannity is an opinion show. That's fine. Have it. Tucker Carlson is an opinion show. That's fine. Have it. Same thing on the other side. Rachel Maddow is not news. She's an opinion show. Fine, have it. But when your news shows are spouting opinion instead of news, or opinion with news, you're no longer news. A letter from Ian Sams, spokesman for the White House counsel's office, suggested that reporters improperly framed stories about the February 8th release of Special Counsel Hur's report. Sams pointed to stories by CBS News, The Wall Street Journal, The Associated Press, and others emphasizing that Hur had found evidence that Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified material. Sams wrote that much of the so-called evidence didn't hold up and was negated by Hur's decision not to press charges. Again, we go back to the million-dollar question. Why didn't he press charges? Biden had no right to have had those documents. None. There is no inherent after-office possession kind of law thingy, for vice presidents. End of story. Sam said it was critical to address when significant errors like misleading the findings or misstating the findings and conclusions of a federal investigation of a president occur. It was Sam's second foray into press criticism in the past few months. Last fall, he urged journalists to give more scrutiny to House Republicans and the reasons behind their impeachment inquiry of Biden. It's hilarious because, if the media had given scrutiny to House Democrats and their reasons behind impeaching Trump, they would have screamed bloody murder. But I get it. I get the tactic. I understand. If you can get somebody on the hook, you can get somebody on the hook. Everybody makes mistakes and nobody's perfect, Sams told the AP. But they want to prosecute Donald Trump for the same thing. Same thing. But Trump was a president and would have had some authority to be in possession of some things. But a healthy back and forth over what's the full story helps make both the press and the government sharper in how the country and the world get the news they need to hear. Well, I'll tell you how you get the news you need to hear. You tune in right here on Wednesday nights to KLRN Radio for the news you need, served with the disdain it deserves. Kelly O'Donnell, president of the Correspondents Association and an NBC News correspondent, suggested that Sam's concerns were misdirected and should be addressed to individual news organizations. She said that it was inappropriate for the White House to utilize internal pool distribution channels primarily for logistics and the rapid sharing of need-to-know information, or to disseminate generalized critiques of news coverage. In a separate statement, Biden campaign spokesman T.J. Ducklow, I think there was a cartoon called T.J. Ducklow. That's something, Anyway, Ducklow criticized media outlets for time spent discussing the 81-year-old president's age and mental capacity, which should be fair game since he is running for re-election, you frickin' morons. An issue that was raised anew when Biden addressed the Hur report with reporters. Americans deserve a press corps that covers Trump with the seriousness and ferocity this moment requires, said Ducklow. Yes, the seriousness and ferocity. Anyway, to be fair, Trump's comments at a rally Friday night likely came past the deadlines of some sections where Biden's stories appeared that weekend, and his remarks have hardly been ignored by media outlets. A.G. Sulzberger, publisher of The Times, noted in an interview with Reuters that Biden's team has been extremely upset about its coverage lately. We're not anyone's opposition, he said, and we're also not anyone's lapdog. Well, you could have fooled me over the last several years. But, Reuters gets half of a pass. At least some of their people actually do understand what news is supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying they always practice it, but some of them actually know. So anyway, this criticism comes amid the backdrop of unhappiness among some journalists about how much Biden has made available for questions and interviews, an issue that surfaced again when Biden turned down an opportunity to appear before tens of millions of Americans in a short interview during the Super Bowl pregame. The 33 news conferences Biden has given during the first 3 years of his presidency is lower than any other American president in that time span since Ronald Reagan. Similarly, the 86 interviews Biden has given is lower than any president since she began studying, or since that was according to Martha Kumar, a Towson University professor emeritus expert on presidents and the press. Jesus, with this writing, who does this? So by comparison, Barack Obama gave 422 interviews during his first 3 years. So there you go. Biden's just 390 behind him. That's not bad. Instead, Biden prefers more informal appearances where reporters ask just a couple of questions with comparatively little opportunity for follow-up. The 535 such sessions that Biden conducted was second only to Trump's 572. Biden, and if you notice with Biden too, it's all before lunch because, that sundowners kicks in and he's capping that day off after lunch. So, Kumar said it doesn't serve him well. Some on Biden's team, meanwhile, believe the president showed a combativeness in the face of criticism that Americans will appreciate. No, this is what you call being infatuated with yourselves. This is the cult worship, and it happens on the right too, and it shouldn't, because anybody that's looking at a politician as anything close to a deity or an idol of some kind, a rock star even, no, forget it. That's stupid. Biden may be combative, but it's out of confusion. He is an elder American that is being abused by his handlers, and I even believe his wife. And I've said it since he started the campaign trail 4 years ago. And I still say it. Now, as for Cessno, he says he can understand the Biden team's worry that the president's fitness for the job becomes a story they lose control of. Much like former Gerald Ford's stumbles led to the perception that he was a bumbler. Nikki Usher, a media professor at University of San Diego, said she was surprised that Biden's team hadn't become more aggressive, saying that he needs to jump out in front of the narrative. The Biden pushback, though, seems mild in comparison to Trump's epic bad-mouthing of news organizations like CNN, the New York Times. Republican voters in general are much more apt to respond to efforts that make journalists the villain. So they say. I don't know. No one's ever asked me. Democrats, meanwhile, tend to have a greater appreciation for the press's role in a democracy. Well, yeah, that's because the press leans hard left for 90% of the time. Of course, Democrats like that. And with age such an issue, this is going to be an uphill battle. I don't know. Look, I'm not a big fan of Jon Stewart. I don't know if anybody has seen the commercial for the upcoming Daily Show now that he's returned. But the teaser for the show is actually hilarious. He talks about Biden and Trump. setting a record for being the oldest people to run for president by 4 years, since they both did it 4 years ago and set the record then. It's insane. What the hell is wrong with this country? Can't we have better candidates? Can't we? I long for it. I really do. When Trump first ran for office, when he first declared, and Rick, I know you're there, and I don't know if you're listening at the moment, but I know you're there, and I know you remember the large field of candidates because we were in Oklahoma City together for the Southern Republican Leadership Conference that year, and I had Trump next to last on my list. Next to last. And Rick, I know you remember some of the craziness that some of those candidates were doing at that conference. And some of that stuff was insane. Let me tell you, I'm not saying Ben Carson is crazy, but the people that he had pushing his stuff, they were insane. But I had them ahead of Trump. The only person out of that field of 16 that I had behind Trump as a selection was Jeb Bush. So anyway, I long for better candidates. And I don't even know how we get one like George Washington, who truly felt that he was undeserving of the job. He didn't want it because he thought it would be too much like the role of a king. I just don't know where we find another candidate like that. But, whatever. I guess we're screwed with what we're screwed with. Anyway, bottom of the hour, we got to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about federal COVID funds being redirected to supplement illegal immigrants. So Rick's going to push a button. You get a chance to refill your drink, stretch your butt. What the hell was that? Live radio, folks, is why I tell you it's best to listen live. Go ahead and hit the button, Rick. We're going to go to break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com?
It is all good, man.
For $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door.
It is all good.
$1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop-up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome back. And let's see, programming reminder, top of the hour, the ladies of the red wine will be with us. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. After that, it will be Rick and Orty, nightcapping KLRN Radio's grassroots conservatism, shall we say. How about rational thinking? You can thought a think and think a thought, I guess. I don't know. Where's Willy Wonka when you need him? Anyway, we are back, and they will be here later, and you should be too. So, as I teased before we went to commercial, a new report is highlighting how federal COVID funds were used in Washington state to give $1,000 checks to illegal immigrants who were ineligible to receive federal economic impact payments during the pandemic due to their immigration status. The report, coming from the Economic Policy Innovation Center, EPIC for short, points to money administered by the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, the SLFRF, if you will. I don't know why they bothered putting that in there, but which was created by the American Rescue Plan Act and was intended to help state and local governments with their response and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Washington State received $4.4 billion in funding overall from that program. Now, the report from the group, which calls for a smaller federal government, highlighted how $340 million in funding went to a program that sent $1,000 checks to illegal immigrants in the state. The funds, approved by the Washington State Legislature in April of 2021, provided another round of funding for undocumented immigrants, according to the impact report. Now, the Washington COVID-19 Immigrant Relief Fund was first set up in 2020 to grant checks to those ineligible for government assistance programs due to their immigration status. Treasury documents confirm that the state has since provided an extra $340 million in federal relief funds for the one-time cash grants, with 10% of the funding going to community-based organizations to administer the program. Now, before we go any further, we're dealing with just Washington State here. This is not an isolated incident, though, because Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, and a few other states, probably like Colorado and, like that, the big blues, obviously, all did the same thing. They all did the same thing. They rerouted federal dollars, federal tax dollars, your money, my money, our money, to these illegal immigrants to give them free cash. So, just bear in mind when we're talking about $340 million in Washington, that's just, scratching the tip of the iceberg compared to some of these other states. The $340 million project is categorized as a cash transfer expenditure in the report, approved for the state of Washington. This means the Biden administration directly subsidized undocumented immigration under the guise of COVID-19 pandemic relief. The state said that it had previously invested $128 million of funding from the Trump-era CARES Act for 120,000 immigrants who did not qualify for economic relief, but the funding was not sufficient for the number of applications the program received. The fund has ended now, with the last payments going out in early 2023. What the flippin' hell? State officials said the fund was an opportunity to help people who may have been left out of other federal and state resources to address the economic impact of the pandemic. Hey, I could use some more cash. Where's mine? Seriously, though, what the ever-loving hell? The EPIC report, and not epic as in, stunning, EPIC as in the Economic Policy Innovation Center report, highlights several other projects related to illegal immigration for which federal funds were used, including programs in Arizona for art, music, and dance classes for migrants, and expansion of shelters in Massachusetts. The Senate is releasing a budget supplemental that includes a bipartisan deal on the border. However, the administration has been actively encouraging illegal immigration by using COVID money to provide cash assistance, housing, legal aid, and other benefits to undocumented immigrants. Now, you stop right here because today there was a news story that blurbed out that said Biden may take action to help dissuade immigrants at the southern border because Congress has not. Think about that for a minute. The office of the president is granted by the Constitution purview over immigration. It is an executive office function. He could have shut the border down completely. He chose not to. When it got worse, he could have enforced the border more vigorously or shut it down completely. He chose not to. Not only did he choose not to, he has, without actually probably saying directly the words, he has invited them. Now, there is still 120 billion with a B in unspent money from the fund. And he is and we are now choo. Where did that name come from? We missed a name somewhere. Paul Winfrey, president and CEO of Epic, has stressed that the 120 billion in unspent funds is still there and is calling on lawmakers to stop those funds. This is something Speaker Johnson needs to get onto immediately. Until Congress claws this money back, it will continue to serve as a magnet for illegal immigration, Winfrey said. And this report comes amid continued concern about the flow of illegal immigrants into the U.S. Congress is currently negotiating a supplemental funding bill which will include aid to communities receiving migrants. But Republicans have sought to include restrictions on asylum and the administration's use of parole. Now, in a related story, weary migrants arriving in Denver on bus from the U.S.-Mexico border city of El Paso, officials are greeting them and offering them two options: temporary shelter or a bus ticket on to another city. Nearly half of the 27,000 migrants who arrived in Denver since November of 2022 have chosen the bus, plane, or train tickets to other cities in the U.S. Data shows that in New York and Illinois, taxpayer dollars are also being spent on tickets, creating a shuffle of migrants in the interior United States who need shelter, food, medical assistance as they wait rulings on asylum cases that can take years. They should wait outside of the U.S., not inside. Remember when all these governors and mayors of these blue states and large metro cities were talking about how what Greg Abbott and DeSantis were doing was just a publicity stunt, and they were just cruel and they were playing with people's lives. Well, now they're all doing it. So what the hell does Denver, Chicago, which we'll get to in a little bit, New York, Sacramento, whatever, what the hell do they all think that El Paso, Texas, or some of these even smaller, El Paso is one of the larger border towns. Imagine what some of these small towns, 6,000 people, have for resources. Nothing. Nothing. The transfer of migrants has gained momentum since governors in Texas and Florida started chartering buses and planes to Democratic-led cities in what critics waved as political stunts. Yes, we just talked about that. However, the efforts show the increased pressures cities are facing from more migrants from around the globe, and they just keep coming to the U.S. through the southern border, often fleeing economic turmoil. Illegal border crossings topped 2 million during the government's fiscal year that ended September 30th, the second highest number on record. With many migrants in shelters or living on the street, the next phase of the challenge is getting them to their families, friends, or court cases, says Mario Russell, director at the Center for Migration Studies of New York. That has, quote, been in a sense dropped into the laps of interior cities without much preparation, without much forethought really at any level, he added. So where do you think it comes to for, like, towns like Eagle Pass? El Paso, like I said, that's a larger border city, but so many of these other cities are under 10,000 people. What do you think the resources are like there for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of illegals crossing into their city from Mexico? Denver alone has spent $4.3 million in city funds to send migrants to other U.S. cities, freeing up shelter beds for new arrivals while adding to the numbers in other Democratic-led cities such as Chicago and New York that are struggling to house asylum seekers, mostly from Venezuela. The data wasn't available from New York, though the city is offering one-way plane tickets to anywhere in the world other than staying in New York. Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago has used state funds to help buy tickets for more than 2,500 migrants who have family, friends, or sponsors elsewhere. The cities say they buy tickets only for migrants who want to travel, and they do not coerce people to leave. This is something they reserve strictly to accuse Texas and Florida of. However, we know that Texas and Florida do it voluntarily as well. The people who are desperate, who are coming here for shelter, they say, we're not going to turn those people away, according to John Ewing of Denver Human Services. But at the same time, we have to make it very clear to them that there's only so much we can do. Advocates working with migrants say many have come to Denver on their way to other cities because of its relative proximity to the border. Relative proximity. I guess. But charities are feeling the pressure as the weather turns and migrants end up sleeping in tent encampments. There's just no more room, they say. There's no more funding. There's no nothing. We're not prepared, they say. Again, why should that just be a Texas border town problem? Why shouldn't these big cities with all these resources at their hands not have some of the, the pain? Let's realize that it's a problem. So anyway, that's what's going on with that related story. We got the state of California, while they're taking in immigrants saying welcome, welcome with their arms out like to hug them, they have a budget crisis that's projected to expand much more so than previously thought and or reported by Governor Gavin Newsom, and is looking to hit a record deficit of $73 billion just for the state of California. The Legislative Analyst's Office laid out a grim forecast that cautions that a $24 billion erosion in revenues corresponds to a $15 billion increase in the state's budget problem. Due to this, the budget deficit, which last month was estimated to hit $58 billion, will now go to $73 billion. There are some factors that could possibly keep it down a little bit, like Prop 98 spending requirements for schools and community colleges. But H.D. Palmer, the director of California's Department of Finance and Newsom's spokesperson on budget matters, responded to the report by saying their budget shortfall differs in his estimate. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does, because this is not what Newsom wants as he gets ready to position himself for a White House run. So anyway, you got that going on in California. Keep those immigrants coming in, though. We got plenty of money in California. We're in great shape. What an idiot. Let's see. It is time. We're gonna get to the end of this thing here. It is time for G's Guaranteed Happy Ending, and this is a good one. This one kind of hits close to home. Many of you know my daughter is going through treatment for cancer, and this is semi-related. So advances in medicine over the last decades have seen the 5-year survival rate of children diagnosed with cancer increase to 85%. But there are outliers to that average, with few more sinister than brainstem glioma. When French doctor Jacques Grill first saw the tumors in a young Belgian boy, it was straightforward, agonizing, and a conversation he knew he was going to have with the family of a 6-year-old Lucas to tell them that he was going to die. But it was not to be. And following the results of an experimental treatment randomly assigned to the young boy, the unbelievable happened. Over a series of MRI scans, the tumor completely disappeared. Dr. Grill said, "I don't know of any other case like him in the world." Brainstem glioma, officially called diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, DIPG, is rare and lethal. Diagnosed in just 300 children annually in the United States and 100 in France, where Dr. Grill practices. The 2-year survival rate is 10%, and no drug is widely available for its treatment beyond radiotherapy. After Lucas's diagnosis, the family traveled to France to take part in a randomized control trial called the Biomed trial. Looking for medications to combat DIPG, Lucas was randomly assigned the drug, let me see if I can pronounce this right, everolimus. It's EVEROLIMUS, which he has taken for more than 5 years with remarkable success. Other children in the Biomed trial have survived, but none have had their tumors disappear completely. And Lucas is now being looked at as the case study that can finally improve the long-term outcomes for children with this deadly cancer. Furthermore, the outlier in Lucas's case was that his tumors carried a genetic mutation seen only a few times in history that made it especially susceptible to this medication. And biomedical researchers speaking with AFP said they are now hoping to reproduce tumor cells with this mutation in vitro. If they can try to replicate the trial's findings on the tumors in vitro and confirm it was the cause of Lucas's remarkable recovery. These are the most preliminary steps, and an approved medication might not be available for another 10 to 15 years, but scientists have discovered this glimmer of hope where there was none before and are more fervent than ever of technological advances that will shorten this illness. And if you can't be happy about that, there's something wrong with your soul. Friends, that's the show. If you like it, tell your friends. If they like it, you need new ones. But they and you are welcome right here with me every Wednesday on KLRN Radio, America's podcast network. I'm your host, The Grouch. Peace.
I hate this place. Nothing works here. The medications don't work. I've been here for 7 years.